Welcome to our phonics workshop. Hopefully this will be really useful for you to help support early reading and writing at home. Even if you've had a child come through my class before, this will be a really good refresher and some of the things perhaps might have changed.
In class, we use the Jolly Phonics scheme alongside other methods to teach each sound. Now, the Jolly Phonics scheme is an older style scheme. It's been around for a little while, but actually, in my opinion, it's one of the ones that engages the children the most. It uses all the learning styles, so there's an action, there's a song, there's formation and things to go with it. So actually, it has some really good hooks to learning. It helps the children remember them. For each letter, there is a sound which is known as a phoneme. We actually use these words with the children, so it's important you know what they are as well. They are much better at picking up words and vocabulary than we are. A really great example I hear about in the early years is where if children can say all the names of those really tricky dinosaurs, they can certainly take on board lots of other language and vocabulary as well. So the pure sound that a letter makes is a phoneme. So for example, the sound that the letter S makes is S, not S. And actually, that's something I'm going to be talking about as we go through. I think sometimes when children are taught by adults that haven't been through the phonics scheme for a long time, they use sort of an elongated sound and they have that on the end, like t and her instead of t and h. So we're really going to focus on those pure sounds because actually, when it comes to reading, if you are using those elongated sounds, for example, if you're trying to robot talk Sam, if you're going sir, m, it would be Sammer if you put the sounds together. But if it's Sam, the sounds are much purer and shorter. So we've got to make sure we take that off the end of each sound. And there is also a grapheme to accompany each written letter, which is the representation of the letter. So the grapheme is the shape the S makes, and the letter name is, of course, S. So with each sound, with each phoneme, there is a song that goes with it. Now, there is a link at the bottom, but actually I found in the past that it hasn't always worked, so it's better if I just sing it. Please bear with me because I'm not a singer, but actually when you work in early years, the children love it anyway. So the song for S is the snake is in the grass, the snake is in the grass, the snake is in the grass. And actually you do the action as you sing the song as well. So it all really links together really well. So if we go on to the next one, I'm going to go through how to pronounce all of these sounds, and it's great that this is recorded because you can come back to it at a later date if you need to, as and when we cover these sounds in the class. You might think, how was that said again? Let me just check. You can always skip to this bit and watch it back through. These are nearly all of the sounds that we teach in Year R, and we teach a few a week, so they'll progressively build up as the weeks go on. So I'm going to go through each letter for you and tell you how it's said and show you the action that goes with it. But please don't worry, you have to remember all of these or write them all down, because actually I'm going to be showing you in a minute your child's phonics folder that's going to come home, and that's going to have lots of resources, not just for your child, but for you as well to help support at home. So starting from the top left, the first letter is S, and as we spoke about earlier, the sound it makes is S, and the action is S, the snake is in the grass. Then you've got A, ants on my arm, causing me alarm. Then you've got the letter T, and the sound it makes is T, 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 T. You're watching that tennis ball go back and forth. Then it's I, which is I, Inky the mouse is my pet. Then you've got P, which is p, 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 puff out the candle on the pink pig cake. Then you've got the letter N, which is the sound an aeroplane makes. I'm just going to move back a little bit so you can see sort of the whole action in shot. The next sound is K. It's the curly K and the kicking K. For the letter C and K, it's K, 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 clicking the castanets. Next, you've got the E, and it's eggs in the pan, breaking the egg. Then you've got H, which is you're out of breath from hopping. Then you've got the letter R, which is puppy with the rag. Then you've got the letter M, which is mum and dad make many meals. So you're rubbing your tummy. Then you've got D, and it's d. Then you've got the letter G, which is the water gurgles drown the drain. Good. Then you've got the letter O, which is O. The letter U, up go on the umbrellas, Then the letter L, which the sound is licking lollipops, not l. Then you've got the letter F, which is you're at the beach deflating an inflatable fish and squeezing that air out. Then you've got the letter B, which is bat and ball. Then you've got two letters that make one sound, which is a digraph. Again, this is language that we're going to be using with the children, so it's important you know it and use it as well. And this is the A sound. And you put your hand to your ear and go, A, because you can't hear. But I do explain to the children that actually we don't really say that, we say pardon. And the letter J makes a jelly. The O and the A, another digraph again, two letters that make one sound is O, the goat got stuck under the tree. Then you've got the I and the E together, another digraph, aye, captain. Then you have got the two E's together. Now this one is, these two digraphs kind of come as a pair when we're learning them. So the two E's together is E, and then the O and the R makes O, E, O, E, O. The donkey says E, O. Then you've got the letter Z, which is Z, buzzy bee. And then you've got the letter W, which is wah, 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 with the wind. Then you have, also it can do the woo, so it kind of depends on the word. Then you have got the N and the G together, another digraph again, which is strong man or strong lady. And then you have got the letter V, which is drive Vic's van round the village. Then you've got the two O's together, another digraph, which is the cuckoo in the clock. And the reason it's is because this one makes two sounds. It makes the long oo sound and it makes the short sound, dependent on which word it's in. Then you've got the letter Y, which is yeah, I like eating yogurts and bananas. Then you've got the X for X-ray, X. The C and the H is a ch, for a train chugging. It's really important that some of the children think that train begins with a ch, and it's really important to hear that distinction between the sounds. It's not a chain, it's not a chain like you would wear around your neck, it's a train. So sometimes they think a train begins with a ch, so it's important to flag that up. The S and the H is the shh, the baby's sleeping. The T and the H is a or a v, dependent on which word it's in. The Q and the U is a quack, 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 just like a quacking duck. Then you've got the O and the U, which is ow, pricking yourself when you're doing some sewing. The O and the I is oi, ship ahoy. The U and the E is you. The E and the R is mixing up the cakes, and the A and the R is the dentist or the doctor says So yes, as it says at the bottom, and as I've repeated a few times, it's just making sure that the sound is a really pure, short sound and not elongated with that sound on the end. So what we teach the children to do is early mark making, which then leads into writing. So it's that mark making is the children's first attempts at early writing. So it presents itself as squiggles and wiggles, and it can be done in lots of different ways. So again, encourage your child to do mark making at home. So today in the classroom, we have got some cars and we've got a big tough tray and there's loads of paint in there and the children are whizzing them up and down and making lots of different shapes. And actually that's really important for the muscles in the shoulders, the elbows, the wrists and the hands, and all of those big movements then lead later into the fine motor control. So this is sort of the gross motor control, and then it leads into the fine motor control. We also did a fun thing this morning that I'm hoping to put on Tapestry to share with you all, is that we did some gross motor movements this morning working on that. So the children had two pencils in each hand, and we used the Venga Boys song, which goes up, and down, and we did lots of up and down, up and down, up and down in the air. Then we did it on the paper, really big rolls of paper. So actually, please don't think that you have to, when you're practicing writing and things, that it has to be a pencil and you have to be sat at a desk with a piece of paper, because actually lots of the children at this point aren't developmentally ready for that. And it's really important you do those big movements. You get a stick in the mud, you use the big paint brushes on your patio at home with some water, you use the big torches, you get messy, you use those kind of things that get the arms moving and get the brain connecting with those fine motor control as well. So there's just a few images there to show you the types of things that we will do, you know, glitter and paint brushes and pens on the back of cars, which I've actually got in my plan for next week. So all of those kind of things really encourage those children that are reluctant to write in the more traditional way, because of course they are 4 and 5 year olds. It just gets them interested in making marks and seeing what they look like and adapting and changing them. So that's really my plea for you on mark making. So what can you do to encourage writing at home? So remember, again, I don't mean at this point in time writing. I don't expect them to write a shopping list, but getting a piece of paper, getting a whiteboard and pen, whatever you use at home. Post-its, kids love post-its because they're generally reserved for the adults and the teachers, those kind of things that you can get them to start helping you. So, okay, we're going to the supermarket today, and, oh, you know, play the game. You've got to role play it out. How am I going to remember what I need from the shop? And then little Sam will say, oh, well, you need a list. So then, you know, then you say, oh, okay, great. Have you got any pens? Have you got any, you know, if you've got any notepads or anything and you're making stuff, great, let's get it out. And can you help me? Okay, I need bananas. And actually, I've done lots of modelling this week on with the children on how that they can do writing. So, for example, it could be that you're going to the shop and need bananas. Great, okay, yep, bananas. And I need some oranges, yep. And I need some milk, okay. And actually, your child's writing might look like this. And this is early writing, this is mark making, this is great because this is them wanting to write, practicing that pencil grip, practicing making those shapes and building up the muscles in their arms. So that's your kind of your first level of writing. Then it might be, as they move on and as they start to learn some sounds and they start to understand a little bit more about the robot talking and initial sounds, you might say, okay, I need some bananas. Yeah. And I need some milk. And I need some grapes. And it might be that your child is beginning to hear initial sounds, so B for bananas, M for milk, and G for grapes. And they might start adding those into their writing. It might even be that they just add random letters that are not in the word. And that's them exploring the letters, and that's okay. And then as time goes on, it might be that your child has really grasped all those letters. And actually, when you're going to the shop and you need some milk, you say, okay, can you robot talk some milk? Ook, ook. And then they might begin to write full words. It might be that, in fact, it definitely will be the case, because this is what we encourage in Year R, that when they do some writing, it's in a phonetically plausible way. So it's really important that I stress to you that children do not have to learn how to spell words correctly when they are still learning the phonics and when they are still practicing their early writing. It's obviously we will teach them some tricky words like I and she and me, because if you sound out, for example, she, it would be sh, sh. So it's a tricky word, so you can't sound it out. So we do teach them the spellings of some of those words, those high frequency words that come up lots and lots and lots, that are really important for them to learn to spell, but also to learn to read, because they'll come up in their reading books. However, for the rest of the time, there will be lots of words that they will just sound out, which is brilliant because they're really fun to read. And as you get more au fait with the phonics scheme, you'll start to be able to understand what your children have written. So I'm just trying to think off the top of my head, something that they might write. Okay, so we need some post-it notes. They might write notes. Okay, notes, notes, notes. So you would have and then the o and the ah makes that oh. The goats got stuck under the tree. Oats, notes, and that's brilliant. And at this point, unless the child was at a point where they were really taking on board spellings and they were storing them and using them, that would be brilliant. I would say, great, you've sounded out notes, you know, because it's really important they build up their confidence. If you say to a child, actually notes are spelled like this, actually it's spelled like this, and you end up correcting every single word that they have there, they just go, do you know what, I'm not going to try, it's too hard, I keep getting it wrong. And actually you don't want a child to feel like they are wrong all the time. It's really important we build that early confidence with writing. I've had some brilliant sounding out of things like special, and you know, all sorts of things that just really make me laugh. So you'll take pleasure in seeing lots of those things at home. So lots of things that you can do at home, as well as shopping lists, is celebrations cards. When it's somebody's birthday, encourage them to write, draw pictures in the birthday card, get them involved in that mark making. Postcards and sending letters to family members. And actually, in the past, when I've said this to families, it's something that people don't do as much, but actually during the coronavirus, perhaps maybe you did. Perhaps we reverted back to a lot of sort of more old-fashioned ways of doing things during lockdown, during the coronavirus. So hopefully things like that will continue. I have had children in my class where they've had tiny letters from fairies, and actually they're really fun as well. Can they write back to the fairy? Those kind of things. Having a family post box. I have a post box in the classroom that goes on my chair that the children can post their writing in, their anything that they do that's sort of a physical something that we can look at. So you might want to have that too. You might have a little post box on the landing and they might write notes to you, I love you, as things progress, but it might start with wiggles and squiggles, and actually they can explain to you what it says, and write notes to them back, you know, even if they can't read it. It's great that you say, oh, you know, mummy wrote a note to you, and you can read it to them. I know sometimes people put notes in lunch boxes and things like that, put it on their pillow in the morning, little fun things like that. Christmas lists, that's always a fun one. You can cut up catalogues and things, Argos catalogues back when I was younger. That doesn't happen so much anymore, but things like that where you can cut the pictures out, print them off online, stick them on something, and they can squiggle next to it what it is. You can say, I don't know what that is, I'm not very good with these toys, you'll have to tell me. Oh, it's an LOL doll or what have you, and they can wiggle next to it to show that they're starting to give meaning to the marks that they're making. So, and you might think, oh gosh, this is really overwhelming. So where do I start? So we've talked about starting with those really early wiggles and mark making, which is perfect. Pencil grip is really important to get right at this early age. So that can be a little bit repetitive, correcting the pencil grip, but it's really important that they don't make bad habits. So for example, this is sort of a fist grip and it might start like that. Then you might end up with sort of this kind of grip going on. And then what you're finally working to is that tripod grip as well. Some children might not be physically ready to do it like that, but it's really important that you model it and show them how to do it, so that when they are ready, they haven't not been told and they just think this is how you hold a pencil. So early reading strategies, it's really important to note that every child develops and progresses at their own speed. I know sometimes as a parent it's really hard, you're chatting to others and, oh, you know, how are they doing? And it's, you know, you without meaning to, you compare them, and actually it's really important to know that children are all little individuals and they all develop at different times in the time that is right for them. So what's really important is that you foster a love of reading, and actually one of the best ways to do this is to read to your child. So having a bedtime story routine perhaps is a really good way of making sure that you read to your child every day. And as your child does begin to read, please don't let that routine slip, because they can now read. It's really important that they hear all that rich story vocabulary, and actually some of the books that they bring home will be great because they're really well linked to the phonics scheme and they'll be able to decode all the words and they'll have a really good success rate. But actually Pip going in the tub and Biff going to bed, they're not the most enthralling stories. So make sure that you're still reading those really interesting, fun stories to your child at a level that they cannot read themselves.
So we are very early into our phonics teaching in reception, and your child might say, well, I can't read. and they are bringing home books with words in. So it'd be important for us to go through some of the strategies for reading those books at home. All of the children will be at different points in their learning, so there'll be different things you'll be able to do with the reading books. The idea behind it is the reading book that comes home will be a book that has all the sounds in that we have taught that week or the previous weeks, for example. So the books will seem to move on to new sounds quite quickly as we learn about 3 to 4 sounds a week. Now, the idea behind this is that they then get exposure to all of the sounds that we've taught in class so they don't get forgotten. So when you look at your child's reading book, your child might be able to spot some of the sounds that they have learnt in class. They might say, oh, there's a, or there's an a. They might be able to spot all of the sounds in the word. They might be able to say a, and that might be where that finishes for them. Your child might then be able to go at, sat, and they might be able to blend those words together. There's 3 sort of stages to that. Spotting some sounds they know, spotting lots of sounds they know, and being able to blend those sounds together to make a word. It might be that your child needs a bit of a bridging tool. So if they say at, you then, as the adult, say at, and keep blending those sounds more quickly together so that they can then hear the words. They might not be able to do that independently, but might be able to hear the word when you are blending the sounds, for example. So there's lots of sort of smaller steps moving towards actually reading the word. So as I said, putting the sounds together is called blending, and you say the sounds faster and faster until they blend to make the word. So when the child is initially seeing a sound, like the one on the screen you can see, it will take them a while to go k, a, t. Now with such a large gap, they then can't hear the word, so it's then going k, a, t, 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 cat. So you might have to do that quite a few times. In class, we call this robot talking. We have a robot type head that's called Metal Mike, and we feed him words and we have to robot talk them for him to eat them, which is lots of fun. And we also play robot talking games, such as I'll say to the children, can you put your hands on your head? Can you put your finger on your nose? Can you put your finger on your lips? And it's just getting them to hear those words in that way, which then gives them the skills they need to write, well, to read and write. But actually, these kind of games, you don't need any books, you don't need any resources. And I would say it's a really, really important skill that you practice with your child, because until they get the hang of the blending side, they won't be able to read the words and the books. So actually, it's that step you need before you even begin to start looking at print in a book. So to support your child at home, your child will bring home a phonics folder, which will look like this. The front of it that I've just shown you there will have the instructions on what to do with this folder. I'll briefly go through them, but actually it's a nice reference point for you as well to look back on. So in your child's phonics folder, the first page you will see is a pencil grip sheet. And actually, I've spoken to the children about their pencil grip, but again, it is very early stages, and I want the children to be able to be comfortable holding a pencil. But actually, I'm just going to get a pencil so I can show you. What we want to move away from is a fist grip type hold. So actually, I've been showing the children that holding a pencil, like the picture in the book, is a crocodile mouth, and then you put the pencil in the crocodile's mouth, and he goes, he purses his lips, in the same way that you would move your fingers upwards to make that tripod type grip. It might be that children have different variations of that, and that's okay as long as they are comfortable holding their pencil and they're able to form the letters with that particular pencil grip. So the ones we're trying to move away from is your fist grip like this, and also something which kind of looks like this, high up the pencil with all of the fingers down the side, because it's just not a pencil grip that the children will be able to write with. So that's the first page in your phonics folder. The next page, there's also a back part to it so you can see those pictures more closely. The next page will be a sound map, just like I showed you at the beginning of the workshop, going through the sounds and how they're pronounced. This is actually for your child to use at home during their writing, their early mark making, because if they are after a sound and they know the action, they want to write sat, for example, they know it's at, but they're not sure how to write a. They would then look on their sound mat and say, oh, well, I know the action is, so there's the snake, and there is how I write the letter. So it's again bridging the gap for their early writing. So that's for you to use at home. On the next few pages, there will be the sounds that we've learned over the last few weeks, how it is written, what the action is, and the little story that kind of goes with it, so you know what the action relates to. So those are there to support you. Go over those sounds again with your child at home, so you know exactly what we're covering at school. And then finally, in your phonics folder, you will find the letter formation. The green dot shows where you start the beginning of the letter, and the red dot shows the end of the letter. What we encourage you to do with your children at home is to practice the letter formation, absolutely. Practice the sounds, practice the actions. When you're doing the letter formation, these sheets are for you to write on, so your child can, we call it rainbow writing, so you can use lots of different coloured felt tips and go over and over and over again on the sheets. They're large enough that you can do that several times over. You can also practice letter formations without pencil and paper. You can do it in the bath, in foam, with sticks in sand, those kind of things. But practicing that letter formation, practicing those actions will really help support your child with their early reading and writing at home. So that folder is for you to keep. It's your child's to support at home. However, we do ask, could it then be returned back into the book bag when you're finished using it? It does mean that every week when we add the additional sounds and actions and letter formation sheets, we have got the folder to put it straight into. It just saves lots of chasing and extra time wasted. So if that could live in the book bag, but it is for you to use at home. We don't use them at school. We have our own resources at school. Something else that you'll also get home with the phonics folder is you will have some phonics flashcards. So they'll go inside this wallet, and on the front it explains that we'd like you to cut these up at home yourselves to use as flashcards. So you can use them literally as flashcards, holding them up a couple of minutes each day will absolutely make the world of difference to remembering those sounds with your child. So just starting with a couple, at, until they are really confident with those, then add in a couple of more until you are really building up their recognition of those sounds. Then moving on from that, you can use the flashcards to build words as well. You can start to put the cards together to write t, ap or t, up, for example. So those are kind of, that's how you can use the flashcards. I mean, there's lots of different ways you can use the flashcards. You can hide them around the room and hunt for them. You can put them on the floor, and when you say the sound, your child jumps on them, for example. There's lots of different easy games that you can do to make that sound recognition more interesting and look a bit different each time, but actually achieves the same objective. I hope that that information has been really helpful for you. Please do let me know if you've got any further questions in regards to early reading and writing. Again, as time progresses, you might think of some more questions as you notice things that your child struggles with. Thank you very much for watching my video.